Voting Dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Banjul, 7 p.m. in Lagos. Good evening and welcome to Newslink in West Africa, the Macross Radio broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. Here are the top stories. Protest intensifies in Nigeria over passage of controversial electoral bill.
Okay, we are in front of National Assembly right now. We brought over 500 Nigerian citizens to protest against the weakening of transmission of election results.
Burkina Faso's parliament approves the dissolution of the political parties. The Gambia's Council for Civic Education unveils 2026 election roadmap.
Our mission is clear: to strengthen civic and voter education, promote inclusive and peaceful political participation, and safeguard a credible and transparent electoral process. And
a court in Bamako sentences former Prime Minister Moussa Mara for undermining the state. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Sankulu Jibril Janko.
Many thanks for joining us this evening. We begin in Nigeria as demonstrations intensify for real-time result transmission within the proposed Electoral Act amendment. Protesters gathered at the National Assembly in Abuja this Monday, bearing a banner Occupy National Assembly. They are calling on lawmakers to include real-time electronic transmission of election results in the ongoing Electoral Act amendment process. While lawmakers claim the bill strengthens the legal framework for future polls, civil society groups are sounding the alarm over the National Assembly's refusal to make the electronic transmission of results mandatory. From Abuja, our correspondent Yechenu Sasetu reports.
Nigeria's quest for a foolproof voting system has hit a fresh legislative hurdle. The Senate has officially passed the third reading of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026, but it is the missing mandatory clause on electronic results that is dominating the national conversation. During the high-stakes plenary, lawmakers opted to retain a controversial provision from the 2022 Act. This allows the Independent National Electoral Commission, or INEC, to choose its mode of transmission rather than legally requiring a real-time digital upload to the IREV portal. For democracy advocates, this is a retrogressive step. The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room warns that leaving technology to the discretion of officials opens the door for manual manipulation, the very thing that reforms were meant to cure. The political temperature is rising. The Nigeria Labour Congress has warned of nationwide strikes if the bill is not adjusted to guarantee technological integrity. Meanwhile, Senate leadership insists that the law does not reject electronic transmission, but simply provide INEC with operational flexibility, a position they hope to make clearer during the emergency plenary scheduled for Tuesday. As the bill moves toward a potential harmonization with the House of Representatives, the pressure is now on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Will he sign a bill that critics say weakens public trust, or send it back to satisfy a demanding electorate? For WADR, Yechinu Sasetu in Abuja.
With the Gambia's presidential election set for December 5, 2026, the National Council for Civic Education, or NCCE, is moving to secure the country's democratic foundations. The council has officially launched its 2026 roadmap, a strategy framework designed to tackle voter apathy and safeguard the peace in what is expected to be a high-stakes transition. The plan prioritizes grassroots awareness to ensure that meaningful participation begins long before citizens reach the ballot box. From Banjul, our correspondent Sang Donald Mendy has the details.
The countdown to December 5th has officially begun. The NCCE's newly unveiled roadmap is a direct response to the growing need for an informed electorate in the Gambia's maturing democracy. By prioritizing nationwide sensitization, the Council aims to ensure that citizens are not just participants but stakeholders in the democratic process. Sering Fai, chairman of the NCCE, explains that civic awareness is the primary tool for meaningful engagement.
Our mission is clear: to strengthen civic and voter education, promote inclusive and peaceful political participation, and safeguard a credible and transparent electoral process.
Beyond the ballot box, the chairman is issuing a call for national unity. He believes the success of the 2026 cycle depends on the collective will of Gambians to reject provocation and uphold the country's fragile peace.
The NCCE therefore calls on all political actors, supporters, and the general public to prioritize national unity, remembering that our shared identity as a nation transcends political affiliation. True nationalism is shown through the protection of our peace and the respect for our fellow citizens.
The roadmap's success hinges on a massive community outreach campaign designed to reach decentralized regions where information gaps are widest. To bridge this divide, the Council is leaning heavily on the media, calling on journalists to act as truth guides against the rise of election year misinformation. As the political atmosphere begins to build, the NCCE says this roadmap is the blueprint for a transparent and non-violent transition. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdona Mendy in Banjul.
In Burkina Faso, the Transitional Legislative Assembly has unanimously approved the bill dissolving political parties and formations. The decision was made this Monday by 69 voting members of the Assembly ALT, marking a major turning point in Burkinabe political life. This adoption repeals the 2001 law on the Charter of Political Parties and Formations, as well as the 2009 law relating to the financing of parties, electoral campaigns, and the status of the opposition. Augustine Colley completes the story.
Following legislative approval, Minister of Territorial Administration Imele Zebo emphasized that this measure reflects the government's commitment to rebuilding the state and fundamentally reorganizing national political life. According to him, previous legislation has led to a proliferation of political parties lacking a clear ideology, significant representation, or real territorial roots, contributing to a loss of public trust in political institutions. The government maintains that since the introduction of a full multi-party democracy, these laws have proven inadequate in addressing the aspirations of the Burkinabe people and the current security challenges. As a result, these laws no longer meet the needs for rebuilding the state and enhancing national unity. The repeal of these laws aims to pave the way for developing a new legal framework tailored to the socio-cultural realities of Burkina Faso. The Council of Ministers adopted this initiative on January 29, 2026. Presented as a necessary step to end political divisions, it is part of the state-building process being undertaken by the transitional authorities.
Augustine Colley filed that report. In Benin, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Joseph Fifami Jobegno, presided over the first official flag-raising ceremony of the 10th legislature this Monday. The session took place at the institution's headquarters in the presence of the parliamentary administrative staff. Following the playing of the national anthem, The New Dawn, the Speaker addressed the parliamentary staff, focusing on the continuity of public service and the maintenance of the professional discipline inherited from the previous legislature. Joseph Fifami Jogbenu emphasized that despite the change in leadership at the National Assembly, the state and the parliamentary administration must not experience any disruption in their fundamental missions.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In more political development, we turn to Côte d'Ivoire as the country is experiencing a new wave of internal divisions within the opposition party PDCI. Last Thursday, the National Assembly established its bureau and parliamentary groups. However, 3 members of parliament who also serve as mayors from the PDCI decided not to join their party's parliamentary group. They are challenging the appointment of the group's parliamentary president. Mo Edet gives the details in this report.
Out of the 32 members of the Democratic Party of Côte d'Ivoire PDCI in Parliament, 28 will officially join the PDCI parliamentary group, which aims to be the main opposition force in the Ivorian Parliament. 3 members were absent from the plenary session that focused on electing members of the Assembly's bureau. They are contesting the appointment of Christosom Blessy as president of the parliamentary group. The situation adds to the internal divisions already affecting the party. Political analyst Noureddine Oyeole emphasizes that PDCI President Tijan Cham must prioritize unity to maintain party cohesion.
The
I think that today, whether we like it or not, after the setbacks and all their consequences, it's an open border. And that's the key solution from President Cham to go back to what I say, to truly make amends, to go back to these people and to talk to each other like brothers and tell each other the truth, and then together find a solution so that the country can heal.
Conversely, political analyst Serge De Souza believes that this situation would not permanently weaken the PDCI. He argues that the party has faced similar challenges in the past and possesses the internal resources necessary to overcome this crisis.
He will certainly be embittered, but he will have another solution to all these problems, especially since there are mechanisms in place, the Council of Elders. In any case, the PDCI has planned a whole range of tools to resolve this kind of internal crisis. Besides, it's not something that's overly complicated.
With municipal elections scheduled for 2028, the Democratic Party of Cote d'Ivoire must find an effective strategy to re-engage its leaders and members in order to reaffirm its position on the national political stage.
A report filed by Abidjan correspondent Marcel Aristemblay, voiced by Imo Edet. Elsewhere, the majority caucus of the governing National Democratic Congress in Ghana's parliament is calling for the immediate cancellation of the party's recent parliamentary primaries in the Yasso East constituency following allegations of widespread vote buying and inducement. The lawmakers are urging party executives to annul the contest, organize a fresh primary and impose strict sanctions on any aspirant found culpable, even as both party and state authorities launch parallel investigations into the controversy. They warn that the allegations, if left unaddressed, could undermine the credibility of the party's internal democratic processes and erode public confidence. From Accra, Nadi Dictator reports.
In a statement signed by the majority leader and leader of government business, Mahama Yarga, the caucus condemned the development, saying they contradict its agenda to reset Ghana's politics and were reached after extensive consultations with its leadership. The group is therefore calling on the party's functional executive committee to annul the contest, organize a fresh primary, and bar any candidate found culpable from taking part in a rerun. The controversy follows reports that aspirant and now former Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mohammed Baba Jamal Ahmed, allegedly distributed items including 32-inch television sets to delegates, claims some party insiders say may have influenced voting patterns. But Baba Jamal has denied any wrongdoing.
So if you give television sets to people, what is wrong with it when you give things to people? Is this the first time I'm gifting things to people? Those of you who know me know that every Christmas, every occasion, every instant, I have put down 2.5 million to give free loans to people. So if today people are coming to vote and we are giving them something, if you have listened to me carefully, I say, look, if somebody gives you gifts, you can take. But allowing that gift to influence your vote is what is wrong. All this week, you think that you can bring people together and you give them water. It is not the item. It is the intention.
Meanwhile, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has announced investigations into similar vote-buying allegations involving both the governing party and the opposition New Patriotic Party. Within the party, a 3-member committee has also been set up to probe the Ayawaso East claims and recommend reforms ahead of a report due by February 10, 2026, as the caucus reiterates its commitment to restoring public trust in Ghana's democratic institutions. For WADR, Nadi Teti, Accra.
Away from Ghana, Mali's former Prime Minister Musa Mara has been sentenced on appeal to 2 years in prison, one of which is a mandatory sentence. The verdict in his appeal trial was handed down this Monday. As a reminder, Musa Mara has been in detention since August 1st for posting a message on social media in which he declared he would fight by all means to ensure that the sun would follow the night. His lawyers denounced this as an attack on freedom of expression in Mali. Christopher Atijo has the details.
The verdict of the trial was delivered this Monday by the Bamako Court of Appeal. The court upheld the sentence of former Prime Minister Musa Mara, who received a 2-year prison sentence, 1 year of which is mandatory, along with a fine of 500,000 CFA francs. Mara was found guilty of undermining the credibility of the state and resisting legitimate authority after posting a message on social media in which he declared his intention to fight by all means to ensure that the sun would succeed the night. His lawyers, who had hoped for leniency from the Malian justice system, criticized the case as an attack on freedom of expression, arguing that there was no evidence to support the commission of any crime. Having already been in prison for more than 6 months, Musa Mara will now spend an additional 6 months behind bars. His family and friends are outraged and believe the case to be politically motivated. Human rights organizations, including Amnesty International, have expressed their concern regarding the rule of law in Mali, labeling the case as an infringement on freedom of expression.
Christopher Atichu filed that report. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Protests intensifies in Nigeria over passage of controversial electoral bill. Burkina Faso's parliament approves the dissolution of political parties. The Gambia's Council for Civic Education unveils the 2026 election roadmap. And a court in Bamako sentences former Prime Minister Musa Mara for undermining the state. Still ahead in the news, we also have guest interview and sport news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Senegalese authorities have dealt a major blow to transnational criminal network involved in the horrific exploitation of minors. In a sweeping operation spanning Dakar and Kaolack, police arrested 14 individuals accused of operating a sophisticated pedophiles ring with deep links to France. According to a police statement released Sunday, the group has been active since 2017. Investigators revealed that the suspects allegedly forced the young boys into unprotected and filmed sex acts with men, many of whom were HIV positive. The network was reportedly directed by a Frenchman arrested in northern France last April, who used money transfers to coordinate the group's activities. All 14 defendants, who are Senegalese nationals, appeared before a judge on Friday. They face grave charges including organized pedophilia, pimping, rape of minors, and the intentional transmission of HIV. This operation marks a significant victory in the regional fight against organized crime and child abuse. Let's take you to Liberia, where former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is sparking a national conversation after calling for stricter government regulation on the construction of churches and mosques. The Nobel laureate argues that while religious freedom is a constitutional right, it must be balanced against the right of citizens to live in peaceful, orderly environments. Well, the remarks come amid growing concerns over the proliferation of religious institutions in residential neighborhoods. Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker has the details.
Speaking at a recent national forum, former President Sirleaf addressed the rise of unregulated religious structures, emphasizing that zoning laws are essential to prevent noise pollution and community disturbances. Sirleaf contends that religious liberty should not override the peace and the quiet of residential areas.
We cannot have churches in every place, any place they want to put it. They just can't. In many places, it's a disturbance to people who have their homes and they live in their homes and they have to listen to all of this. It's not fair to them. Through the zoning, there gotta be places where you can put churches. Not because there's an empty piece of ground that the person who owns it sells it because they don't want to develop it or they cannot develop it, and then the church decides they will put it there. And they have no rules, no regulations to stop them.
Anticipating potential backlash, the former president clarified that her proposal is not an attack on faith, but a move to protect the collective rights of all Liberians.
This does not in any way mean any restriction, any infringement on religion, on Islamic things. It doesn't mean any infringement. Many of them are small churches and churches that are built so quickly, they're now part of the old order, if I may put it that way, but we still respect them. We still like for them to continue to pray for our country.
The call has already ignited a spirited debate across the country, while some community leaders work on the move toward modern urban planning, others in the religious community view it with caution. as the government weighs in the discussion, highlights the ongoing challenge of balancing Liberia's spiritual vibrance with its need for orderly development. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Politics,
Analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, the guest interview this evening focuses on Nigeria, where fears over the future of electoral transparency in the country are mounting following the Senate's passage of the 2026 Electoral Act Amendment Bill. While lawmakers claim the bill strengthens the legal framework for future polls, civil society groups are sounding the alarm over the National Assembly's refusal to make the electoral transmission of the results mandatory. The decision has resulted to protests by citizens who gathered at the National Assembly in Abuja this Monday. Well, our guest is Ma Odi, co-convener of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room and organizer of the protests.
We just want to see real-time transmission of election results from polling unit to the annex server, which Abio have removed, and return it to the way it was in year 2022 Electoral Act, which made it possible for Professor Yakub to lead Nigeria citizens' election and stole our votes and declared whatever he declared in the midnight that day. And now they have reduced the time frame for the release of the annex timetable for the next general election. They have reduced it from 360 days to 180 days. We want them to return it to 360 days. So annex will have an ample time to plan, to coordinate, to strategize, and to conduct the year 2027 general election. Anything short of it is unacceptable to us.
From a civil society perspective, what are the biggest risks to Nigeria's electoral credibility if electronic transmission of results is not made mandatory in the amended Electoral Act?
The biggest risk is that there will be no election year 2027. They will just select themselves and lead the election from source. If they remove the real-time transmission of election results, making it mandatory from the polling unit and annex server, then the whole story is that there will be no election. They will select APC people and they will declare themselves winners and victorious, and now continue their corruption and the suffering and poverty in Nigeria. That's why we are pushing back that enough is enough.
Why is electronic transmission of results so critical for elections in Nigeria, particularly given the country's past experiences with disputed polls?
Okay, why it is very critical is that they read the election during collation of a result. By the time the result pass from polling unit to registration center, they read the election there. They also read the election in the ward level, read the election in local government level. What they are bringing for the state collation center is a read the election. So what happens at the polling unit is that what is counted in the polling unit before the party agents, before observers, both national and international observers, are the true reflection of people's will and also votes count. So by the time they use the polling unit to the ward level, to state, to local government level, they have leaked the election there. That's why they change figures. From the ward level, they change figures.
The Senate is expected to hold an emergency plenary on Tuesday. So what specific actions or assurances are civil society organizations expecting from the lawmakers?
We are waiting for them, and some of us are also protesting tomorrow. And when we do not see the real-time transmission, return back to them. Because when they rig the election, the result of the rigging of the election is bad governance, because we don't vote for them. We don't have security in Nigeria. We don't have welfare. Our poverty is growing every day. So we want our votes to count, so that the people who were elect will be our preferences, will be our choice. And the votes count will be a reflection of our choices. Our votes must count. There must be real-time transmission of election results from the polling unit to annex server.
Ma Odi, co-convener of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Well, in sports, two Sierra Leonean match officials have received appointments from the Confederation of African Football, CAF, to officiate CAF Confederation Cup match between USM Algeria and OCS Olympic Club Satif of Morocco. The fixture is scheduled to take place on Saturday, 14 February 2026. Referees appointed for the match are Central Referee Suleiman Santio Camara, Assistant Referee Mahmoud Ali Conte. The appointment marks another significant milestone for Sierra Leone in football and underscores CAF's growing confidence in quality and professionalism of the country's match officials at the continental level. Well, Sierra Leone football family congratulates referees on their prestigious assignment and wish them success in the execution of their duties. In women football, Malawi under-20 women's national team head coach Maggie Chumbo Sadiq has praised her players for securing a hard-fought 1-1 draw against Guinea-Bissau in the first leg of the FIFA under-20 Women's World Cup preliminary round played at Estadio 24 de September. Well, the hosts opened the scoring shortly after the break when Quita da Silva converted a free kick in the 48th minute. However, the young Scorchers showed resilience and were rewarded in the 75th minute when Sarah Bika struck the equalizer to give Malawi's a valuable away result. Chumbo commended her charges for their fighting spirit against a strong opponent. We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink and West Africa Democracy Radio broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Maudu for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms X, Instagram and Facebook at WDR English. I am Sankule Janko. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County.
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
For any cackle, a giggle.